let's see if we can get
Keep
this
our
chat.
chats.
Yeah, let's hope it stays on the screen this time. Us talking about technical difficulties at the start of a live stream. What else is new?
Yeah, our intros are always good. So
yeah.
we were just mentioning we're going to try and keep a closer eye on the chats this time so we don't miss anybody who happens to join us. And if the screen starts looking wonky over there, I'll try and check in on my phone just to be sure too.
Works for me.
We don't want to miss you guys. We want to chat.
Yeah, that's what book club's all about.
Yeah,
talking about books.
That would be book club. Yeah, it's been a long week, hasn't it?
Oh, it sure has. That is an understatement.
Anyway, okay.
Yeah, so if you're joining us for the first time, this live stream,
yes,
we are the Everyday Epic Book Club. I'm Amy.
And I'm Kelly.
And today we're here to talk about the book, hit myself in the face, Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir.
And if you are coming for the first time, yes, this is normal.
Yeah.
We're not having trouble today. We just have trouble every day.
Every day is a struggle. It's fine.
It's all good. It's all good.
It's how we keep it realistic here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we're not rehearsed. That's for sure.
Yeah, this isn't one of those social media things where we make it look like it's all perfect when life. No, this is real. This is real life, guys.
Yeah, we don't practice. We don't rehearse. We're just like, okay, let's go. All right. Anyway, nobody cares. Anyway, the book. Because here we are. Oh, I should say too, I screwed up my back. And so if I have to ditch partway in to go walk around for a minute, sitting is still hard sometimes. So that's the problem. But so if I disappear, it's all good. I'll be here. I'll be back.
She'll be here, just
not on the screen. Yeah. We'll be around. Anyway, okay, so book.
Project
Hail Mary. Andy Weir.
It was kind of a joint pick.
It was.
For us, because we both had said that we wanted to buddy read it last year, and we never got around to it, so we decided to kick off this year's book club with this one. What did you think?
Well, yeah, I didn't like it as well as I liked The Martian. God, I hate to even say it. I really do, but yeah, it's like a 3.
Okay.
Am I being too generous again? I feel like I was really too generous with some stuff last year.
I don't think you're being generous with it because I was going back and forth between a 3 and a 4.
Uh-huh.
So I would say, a 3.5, 4 is where I would probably land for my own rating. Because I agree, I don't think it was as good as The Martian.
No.
Not at all.
Not by any stretch.
Not at all. It didn't need to be 500 pages.
No.
Oh, God, no.
No.
There was so much that I felt like I could have just ripped right out of that book, and it would have been just fine.
Easily. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I think, one of my major problems was, there was too much science in it. He literally explained everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like almost a justification sometimes. Well, maybe we should start by describing what the book is about. Really. I mean, hopefully y'all read it and y'all know what it's about, but just in case.
Yeah. And if you haven't, here's your warning now. This is not spoiler free.
No.
We're going to be talking about everything in the book.
Yeah, we're gonna
if
make
you're
it
wanting to read the book and you don't want any spoilers, this ain't the live show for you. So
go away. Come back when you've read the book.
Yeah.
But yeah. I guess just going off of the description of the book, is, what's the dude's name? Ryland Grace.
Mm-hmm.
Wakes up on a spaceship, and he basically has no memory whatsoever. But gradually, I don't even know how to describe this book, but his memory starts to come back, and basically he is on a mission to save Earth. But he has to figure out, first of all, who he is, why he was on this ship, what he can do, and also basically what everyone else could do, because it was a 3-man mission, and when he wakes up, he's the only one left alive. The other 2 people are dead. So he is basically on his own in the spaceship trying to figure out why he's on a mission to save the Earth. So that's kind of the basis of it. Little bit deeper than that is there's something that is causing the sun to go dimmer. And so, of course, the first part of the book is all about figuring out what that is. And pretty much what Ryland does is his whole memory recall procedure. What he does is he'll focus on something and really focus on it, like meditate on this one thing, like something he might find on the ship, and see if it'll trigger a memory. And slowly that's how these memories come back. And he is a microbiologist, right?
I believe so.
Right. So when they figure out that there's some sort of organism that is draining energy from the sun, and when they're able to get a sample of what this is, they find out that it's life. And because of some paper that Ryland Grace had written way back when that caused so much controversy that he quit the field and went to be a junior high science teacher. But because of this paper, this one woman who is apparently been given like absolute authority, anything she wants, she gets and to do. She pulls him in because of this one paper he wrote, and he is the one that's going to study this life form. So anyway, which, I mean, being a microbiologist, cool.
Yeah.
But it was because of, what did he say? The paper was about that there were life forms that didn't need water to exist.
Yeah. That was his theory, his argument, that not all life needs water.
Right. So basically, he proves himself wrong in studying this organism. And instead of being kicked out of the project, he somehow ends up becoming like the right-hand man of this woman who has like total authority. So anyway, and then it goes from there about how they create this mission to save Earth. So that's the gist of it. So, I mean, yeah, like The Martian. I mean, it's a sci-fi book, so of course there's going to be science in it. And one thing that Andy Weir has done well is make it believable. I mean, like, he bases his shit in real science. And yet, there was just too much of it.
Yeah. I mean, there was quite a bit of it in The Martian as well, but I feel like it was broken up a little bit better in The Martian.
Well, it was justified. Like, the things that he went into depth with, well, first of all, Mark Wally was a much better character. Ryland Grace, I read a review that said Ryland Grace was just another Mark Wally. No. No.
You don't agree with? Okay.
No, I don't. I don't agree with that at all.
Okay, because like I came in here and I was thinking the exact same thing, that I was reading the same character from The Martian. That's what I felt like.
I mean, I can see why, but I don't agree because Mark Wally was such a better character. So much better. And okay, so in The Martian, he was a botanist. What he needed to do to save himself was botany, right? So, but Ryland Grace, he was a microbiologist, and yet he was involved in everything for God knows why.
Yeah.
I mean, people were coming to him to ask his opinion on different aspects of this mission, and it's like, he's a microbiologist, and you're asking him about rocket fuel. Why? So sometimes I think the science was in there to justify, because Ryland could figure it out because he's such a big brain. He could figure it out. So we had to explain all the science and show why, and which was just not necessary. I mean, his whole presence and most of that was just not necessary. But Mark Wally was a better written character, and Ryland Grace was not near as funny.
Oh, no.
As Mark Wally was.
No. Like,
I mean, he was kind of pathetic. I didn't like him. I really didn't like him.
The Martian had me laughing out loud, like, multiple times, and, like, I didn't want to put the book down because I was actually, like, it was fun to read.
Mm-hmm.
Project Hail Mary had its moments here and there where I definitely was like, okay, that was funny. But there was also a lot of it where I was just like, okay, let's just, like, get through this. Like, come on. Like,
I skimmed a lot.
I did. I skimmed a lot, too, especially the science chunks. Like, I'm sorry, like, I'm a biologist, so, okay, yeah, science should be kind of my thing, but at the same time, like, I don't care about the quantum physics of space and relativity. Like, I don't.
Didn't you feel like, though, they would say, okay, we're going to do, when they were talking about the mission, we're going to do this. And then it would be like, now wait, here's why we're doing that. And then it would back up and go through all of the science stuff. And it was like, I don't care.
Yeah, just do it.
I really don't care. I don't care.
This book could have been 300 pages if you just took out all the unnecessary science stuff.
So it really felt like maybe, this is maybe what Andy Weir would have wanted to do in The Martian, but he had to make it a better book in order to sell. And this time he was given, like, free reign to do what he wanted. I don't know, but
maybe.
I don't know. And some of y'all probably just absolutely loved it. And that's cool. That's cool. It just, I feel like when you do stuff like that, it needs to serve the story to some point. And there just wasn't a point to it. So that was one of my biggest issues, was there was way too much of the explanations, in-depth explanations, that I didn't think were really necessary.
Yeah.
That was one of my biggest problems.
Yeah. I think one of my biggest problems is I didn't feel like there was enough conflict in the book.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I mean, here you are, one man on a 3-person mission. You come across an alien in space.
Oh, yeah, there's aliens.
Yeah. Which I was okay with.
I was too.
But.
Sort of.
I was okay with it at first, and then as we got into it, I was not so much okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're going to come across an alien life form with a huge ship. And he's gonna be so friendly? Like, it was just like, I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm just, like, paranoid or whatever, but, like, that whole interaction between them was, like, best case scenario that you could ever hope for, and totally unrealistic, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like, no. I didn't like it. I needed there to be some conflict. I needed something to go wrong. I needed one to, like, not trust the other. Like, they both trusted each other, like, right away. Like, it was literally the alien Rocky sent him a little message, being like, hey, can I come on your ship? And Ryland's like, hell yeah! Get on board, dude! Let's do this thing! Let's collab!
He was such a goof.
Oh.
Ryland was such a goofball.
And this was the man that was set to save Earth.
Right.
Like, I mean.
Right.
And he didn't even want to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was dumb, too.
Yeah.
That whole part was dumb. My thing about the alien, I didn't mind that so much because I kind of thought, okay, so yeah, they're both scientists. You could just see 2 science guys geeking out over having first contact, right? Okay, so my problem is that, again, Ryland Grace is a microbiologist. And yet, the entire time they're still on Earth, he's all of a sudden an expert on everything. You get him into space, and he meets an alien, and all of a sudden he's a linguist. I mean, tip, tap, tip a little on his keyboard into a spreadsheet on a laptop, and within hours, they're able to communicate.
Yeah.
When the alien has a music-based or a musical-based language. Again, like I said, Mark Wally in The Martian, he was a botanist. The problems that he faced, the things that he had to do to survive were botany, growing things.
His solutions were
based in botany. And Ryland Grace all of a sudden is an expert in, like, literally everything.
Because he's a science teacher.
Because he's a junior high science teacher. Oh, and not only that, the cool science teacher. And
because like, that had to keep coming up every time. Like, because a science teacher just knows these things. That really torqued me off. Like, I'm sorry.
It's one of those things. If you have to say you're cool, you're not cool.
Yeah.
You have to explain that you're cool. You're not cool. Anyway, yeah. It was just that really, really, it was so unbelievable that he ended up being this secondhand man to this person that had complete control, and he was her right hand man for no reason, no reason at all.
No. But the explanation to that they gave was because he was coma resistant. And that's why she kept him on the project and trained him.
Well, yeah, later on. Yeah, but it still was written. People were literally coming to him
for his opinion. Leading expert on astrophage now. Except he discovered it.
Oh my gosh. But, he actually didn't discover it. It was that other person that discovered it. He just studied the first sample of it. He named it.
No. Anyway. But I thought that he discovered, if you discover it, you name it. That was a big thing.
Well, they brought the sample back. Or maybe they didn't know it was.
They didn't know what it was. So I think that they, brought it to him.
Okay.
Because I don't freaking know.
I don't remember. Anyway, yeah, it was, that was the explanation at the end, but it didn't, it was retroactive. It tried to, explain what had happened, and it didn't, because it's still, they weren't coming to him strictly for his opinion on astrophage, though. It was anything and everything to do with this project. And even then, what they launched something up to this
launch.
Yeah, and the team that was supposed to go, they kept saying something. They literally called him.
Your right hand. You're number two. Yeah, you're stress number two.
So other people saw that. So it doesn't make sense then that to kind of retrofit it. It was no, it doesn't explain it. I'm sorry, it doesn't.
Mm-hmm. I'm disappointed.
Me too.
This is not how we were supposed to start off 2023.
I know.
Here we are again.
But here we are. So yeah, that was probably and yeah, you're right. It was not enough conflict, because I kept thinking through the whole thing too. And I know I'm going to keep comparing it to The Martian, because
that's a 5-star read for me. It's one of my favorite books.
Yeah. But it was every time they turned around, poor Mark was thrown into something. Mm-hmm. Right? Ryland had nothing like that. I kept waiting for a heat shield to fail, or
and there were some things that did happen.
Not a lot.
No, a little bit more towards the end of the book. They had a breach in the hull.
The end of the book did.
Yeah.
Literally probably
the last 100 pages.
Maybe that much of the whole book. They did start to have problems.
Yeah.
And especially come to find out that the predator that they found that would eat the astrophage actually ate their fuel.
Yeah. The Tomoeba or whatever.
Yeah, well, the astrophage was their fuel.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would eat their fuel, so they were basically stranded in space. But there was no, all the way through, the biggest conflict was him trying to regain his memory. But even then, it wasn't it wasn't an immediate thing.
It wasn't a life or death situation.
No.
There was never a time where it's just I need to remember this and I can't, or I'm gonna die. No.
Well, even figuring out the computer system on the ship, it was oh, that button looks interesting, and of course it's the one that he needs.
Yeah.
And that
was the thing. Everything was so easy. If they did run across a problem, Rocky could fix it and he could science it, and it was just done. Earth is saved. Arid is saved. We're happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, I want.
You're in space, for goodness sake.
There are so many things that could go wrong in space, especially when you are the only one in the ship. It is powered by something that you don't fully understand. A new life form.
Right.
And you're out and...
You're out there winging it.
Yeah.
Because you've only got...
I wanted one of his EVA things to like fail. When he's out on the ship, have him fall and be like hanging on by a thread of the tether.
Yes.
Like, okay, this is how I die kind of a situation. And then have like Rocky's robot or something pull up. Like, I don't know. Like, I wanted something to happen. I like
nothing. No. Because of course he must be the EVA specialist for this mission.
Oh yes.
Because of course he was. And he's a linguist too. Mm-hmm. And apparently a biologist.
And a physicist. And a chemist.
Yeah.
Like a quantum physicist, not just a normal physicist. Yeah. We're talking quantum physics.
Because a junior high science teacher is going to know all about time gaps.
Oh yeah, relativity and all of that good stuff.
I mean, sure, maybe relativity, but really? Okay, sure.
I don't know.
I mean, I went through junior high science, and I don't think we learned about relativity in junior high science. So, Anyway,
not to the extent that you need to know it.
A bit unbelievable.
I mean, it's a sci-fi book, so it's not really supposed to be insanely believable.
The Martian was. It's like completely believable.
It was. What book did we read last?
If that was not unbelievable, it would take a botanist to say it was not believable. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I could sit here and go, no freaking way, man. No. Anyway, what book did we read?
Yeah, there was a book that we read last year that had a whole bunch of science in it that we hated.
Probably Hidden Figures.
Oh, yeah. That would be it. I think.
That was a real story. Anyway, that's my bashing. Because I think that's all I would have to bash about, honestly.
I mean, it was really easy to read. Like, like his writing style is really good. I read it quickly. Like, for it being 500 pages, I got through it pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I did too.
And there wasn't a time where I was just, like, dreading picking it up. Like, I had no issue, like, sitting there and reading it for a good, strong, like, hours at a time. So...
And I really liked the story itself.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that something was basically eating the sun.
Yeah.
And that we were facing an ice age. And
in all reality, with climate change and things, like, it's not that far of a stretch to get an idea like this.
Yeah.
Like, environmentalists probably love this book because it's like, climate change is real kind of a situation. And, like, be more careful with your... Like, what
and the part where that poor environmentalist, though, because they had to all of
Antarctica.
They had to release methane gas to get the greenhouse effect because they actually intentionally wanted to warm the atmosphere because we were facing an ice age. So, in order to give ourselves or give themselves like an extra
few years
to get the mission to go where it needed to go and get back was going to take like 17 years, right? Or 17 one way.
It was 13 years one way and 13 back. So it was 26 years total.
So they were only going to have what? I don't even remember. Not enough time before the ice age would hit. And so this poor environmentalist, they brought him in and basically made him tell them how to produce greenhouse gases.
Yep.
So yeah, they blew up Antarctica.
Those poor penguins.
That was pretty good. But that poor environmentalist. I feel bad for him.
Yeah.
And the way that Ryland had ended up on the mission, not the whole kidnapping thing, but the way that the crew that was supposed to go, that was all done pretty well, I thought, too.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
Because there was 2 separate crews of 3, and they were so careful about, they could never ride the same airplane. They could never be in the same place. They weren't housed. They couldn't train at the same time. So that if something happened to one of the first crew, they had their backup in there, too. And so, of course, it turned out that one team was completely out?
No.
And then both science officers or both science people?
No, just the one Dubois or whatever his name was.
Yeah.
He was in the testing facility testing an improbable thing or whatever, like one of the worst case scenarios, and then his second in command or second crew member, his replacement,
his equivalent, they were having an affair.
Yeah, they were together. But they were both in there.
They were
testing together.
Yeah.
And accidentally
blew themselves up.
Vaporized the entire lab.
The whole thing.
Themselves.
Yeah.
Left a whole crater in the ground.
Yeah.
Because whoever gave them the astrophage gave them the wrong amount.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder whatever happened to that person.
I think they were probably vaporized too. Because I think they were in there. But yeah, so that was all. I mean, everything really about the storyline itself was really good and made sense. And I mean, Andy Weir can put together a plot line. There is no doubt about that. It was just that he had to shoehorn Ryland Grace in there. When I don't think he really needed to. Because, I mean, you could have just as easily had him there, but on the outskirts to where, or just, had that explosion happen towards the beginning and then they have to rush him in and suddenly he's involved in everything because he's the guy,
mm-hmm.
That
would have made a lot more sense.
It would have. And it would have not been that stupid kidnapping deal. That was so stupid.
See, to decide who was going to go on the mission, they tested everyone to see who had this coma-resistant gene, because everyone that was going, part of the crew and going on the Hail Mary, was going to have to be put into a coma for the 13 years, for the whole trip. And there's not very many people that would be able to survive that, I guess. And so they were looking for...
Or wake up from it.
Yeah. So they were looking for a certain amount of specialists who had that gene. And Ryland happened to be one of them. Mm-hmm. And
But was never told.
No, he was never told until the very end when he needed... they needed him to go on there.
He knew he had been tested for the gene because I guess everybody was tested for the gene. Yeah. But he'd never been told that he had it. Until, the two people blew themselves up and he had to be, he was choice number 3. Unknowingly. And then, of course, the big explanation of, well, that's why, I don't remember what her name was. Strat.
That's why Strat.
That's why she kept him around.
And training on everything.
Yeah, and involved in everything.
The whole project, because you were always my third choice in case something went wrong. And you had no say in the matter whatsoever, sir.
Yeah.
This is a suicide mission. You're not going to come back from it.
Yeah, that was the thing. They only had enough fuel to... Okay, so they had to go to a totally different solar system because they had found another star where...
It was resistant to astrophage.
Yeah, astrophage was there, but their star was not dimming. And so they wanted to know why. And so this whole mission was to send them there so that they could take samples, do their science thing, and they had little satellites or whatever that they were going to send back because they didn't have enough fuel for the crew to get back. But they were just going to send those little... bots or whatever
Beatles.
Because
they were named after the Beatles.
John, Paul, Ringo. So they're going to send those back, George. But yeah, so it was a suicide mission. There was not enough for the crew to go back. So whoever went was going to die once they reached this other solar system. So that was the whole thing. But then it was so really? Of course, Ryland refused to go. He's like, you ain't going to go. You weren't going to do it. Even though he'd been involved in this whole project from the get-go, knew how important it was, knew how impossible everything was. This was their one chance.
Yeah.
And he was like, I ain't doing that.
Yeah, it's that part, I hated that part so much. And that was a moment
it was so
where
dumb.
I I had been okay with Ryland's character up until that point. Like, I didn't really have too many issues with him. That moment made me completely do like a 360, like 180, whatever it's called, 180. I changed my opinion of his character. Yeah. Because, like, if you're going to be involved in this huge project to save the entire planet, and then when the time comes for you to actually save the planet, you're going to balk and be like, nah, that ain't my job. Boy, we have some moral issues that we need to work with here.
Yeah, and it was so, like, I mean, of course, in the end, what Strat called him a coward and basically said, you know,
you're going no matter what.
You're going, and so they like drugged him, and kidnapped him straight up, basically. So that's why he couldn't remember anything, was because they give him some kind of drug that would mess with his memory, so that by the time he remembered what was going on, he would be too invested in the mission to like sabotage it. And like, he's already on the spaceship, so he's already gonna die, and he knows it. So why wouldn't he? But no, in order for him to not sabotage the mission, they gave him this memory drug, so that in trying to figure out what was going on, he would be so invested in the mission at that point that he wouldn't sabotage it once he fully remembered what was going on.
But it's also like,
why?
Well, that was the other thing, is like, I was his threat. He's like, you make me go on that ship unwilling, I am going to sabotage this mission. And I literally, I hated reading that so much too, because like,
well, and
you're already on it.
Yeah.
Like, let's just, if you're already there, you can't get off of this ship.
You're done.
You're gonna die anyway. So how about let's save a planet while we're at it? You know?
So what, out of spite?
You say that you care about these kids that you teach so much, and that was his excuse for not wanting to get on this ship.
I can't leave my kids.
I can't leave them. They need me here. They need someone who's going to help prepare them for what's coming. It's like, why not you just get on the ship and help save them from what's coming?
Well, and that's what she told him, too.
Yeah. But it's like so true.
But it's like he wasn't married. No. He didn't have children, like his own biological children. He was just a teacher, and not just a teacher. I'm not insulting you teachers out there, but
his only kids were his students.
And not to say that teachers don't have attachments to their students, but it's not the same thing. I mean, and that was his excuse. These children need me. My children need me.
Yeah, it was always my like. It said that throughout the book so many times. My kids, and I kept thinking like, "Oh, dude, how many kids you got?" Until I realized he was a teacher and he's talking about students, and I'm like, "This is a little bit too much for a teacher."
Well, it was a little bit too much because I mean, again, I understand. I get attachments. You know, teachers get for their students, and they are your kids. I get it. But at the same time, on kind of the other end of that spectrum, you have this class of students for 1 year, 9 months, and then you start all over again with another group of kids. You know, it's like, and I get it, they're your kids, but still, not in the way that he was going on and on and on. Like he was going to be personally responsible for these kids' safety. No, you're not.
For that.
No, you're not.
No.
So anyway, I don't know. It was dumb. It didn't need to happen. He really could have just been resistant and not wanted to go, and then kind of done the whole, but I have to do what I have to do kind of thing. Yeah, right.
That would have been so much better. So much more of like a heroic line for him.
Yeah,
because. Look, that's what these people were going to be on this ship. They were heroes.
Yeah. And I think, it was the whole memory thing. But really, I mean, they could, I don't know if it's a thing or not, but why can't when you wake up from a coma, your memory's screwed up? I mean, I'm sure people wake up from comas and don't remember things, don't remember everything.
I mean, especially if you're in a coma for 13 years. I feel like...
Right? I feel like maybe that would have been a good enough reason for him to have memory issues.
Yeah. I don't know though, because sometimes people get put into medically induced comas to help heal. So I don't know how that
not
works.
For 13.
I'm not a doctor. I'm not a neurologist or whatever.
I don't know either. Or something could have gone wrong. Like, I mean, obviously, these robots killed. Well, I mean, they didn't kill him, but the other two didn't survive the coma
for reasons still unknown.
Yeah, they
were just dead.
They just were dead. But why couldn't something have happened while he was in the coma to mess with his neurological systems? I'm not a doctor, obviously. Not even close to being any sort of scientist, obviously. But you would think there's probably something that could have happened.
I don't feel like you just wake up from a 13-year coma. Which, I mean, I guess the robots were there to kind of help explain why he didn't wake up in such a terrible state.
Well, they talked about how the robots would exercise them, to keep their muscles up. Because, more than once he had to comment about how jacked he was. And I'm like, I really don't think that a robot making sure that your muscles don't atrophy is going to make you jacked.
No.
But
no, it's sure not.
Okay. But I think there could have been an explanation about, look, it messed up so bad that it killed these other two people, and it messed me up so bad because it messed up my neurosis, whatever. I don't even know what. Your head. Messed up your brain. It could have. It could have. And, I don't know. Could have.
It would have been a better addition to the book, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Because then that would have caused a little bit more issues.
Well, because there again, like you said, there was really no explanation for why those two people died and he didn't. Other than, like, odds.
Yeah.
That was about it. Odds.
Yeah.
They said there was a chance they wouldn't survive it. So, odds. I don't know. Whatever. Yeah. Anyway. It definitely did pick up at the end.
Yeah, the end parts were really good. Like, and he had a redeeming moment when he had found out that he was going to be able to actually survive and go back to Earth and deliver it all himself, because his space alien friend Rocky had enough astrophage on his ship to get back to his own planet and to let Grace get back to Earth.
Because they figured out how to reproduce it.
Like
the environment, the environment on their planet was so different.
It was so much hotter, and there was a lot more CO2.
Yeah, because that's what they
astrophage ate CO2, and then when they got hot, they bred and
they split. But so they were able to reproduce it at a much faster rate than Earth was. So he had a whole bunch of it.
Yeah, but on Ryland's trip back home, he realized that he had the Tomiba that he had bred to become nitrogen resistant for it to survive life on the sun, like Earth's star and all of that good stuff. It could now channel itself through this material that Rocky had been using to help them like store it. And so it got into the fuel, or it didn't get into the fuel yet. He caught it early. But
it had gotten in before he left, didn't it?
It got into the crew compartment. It got into some compartment.
Yeah, because he and Rocky had to deal with it.
Yeah, that was the first time. But the second time.
But they didn't know how it got out.
Yeah.
They thought the container was messed up or something.
Well, the breach in the hull, when they were above Adrian, the breach in the hull had the Tomiba. It came through, and they found the astrophage because it was so hot. And so then it attacked it, and it like ate all their fuel that time. But then on the second time, when Rocky and Ryland departed, going back to their respective planets, and then Ryland found out that, oh, hey, we have another leak, don't know where it is, and it's like, oh, the Tomiba can get through the xenonite or whatever. And so he's like, oh gosh.
Which was this metal that only Rocky's people knew how to do or make or whatever.
Yeah.
But they could get through it.
Yeah. So he caught it and fixed it before it got into his fuel supply. But he's like, oh no, Rocky, his entire ship is made out of this.
He can't stop it.
He can't stop it. And so Ryland had to make the decision. He's just like, well, I can either return to Earth a hero, or I can go and save Rocky. Because he only had enough food to last him one of the trips.
One way.
Yeah. So he had a redeeming moment, and he decided that he was going to go save his friend while sending the little beetles to Earth. So he saved
beetles went to Earth,
planets,
and he went to save Rocky.
Yeah.
Instead.
It's like, finally, this man, finally.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, towards the end too, when they were getting the samples from Adrian and stuff, that was a little harrowing. They had a couple of missteps there too that again reminded me of The Martian, where everything, they have these life and death things that you have to figure out or you're gonna die. Mm-hmm. And so that last section was full of it, which was so missing from like the rest of the book, but it really was. The end of it was good.
It was really good. And what did you think of him living on Arid? Like, he had the option to choose to go back to Earth, but he decided to live on Rocky's home planet instead. I don't know how I feel about that.
And they were going to outfit him. What was it, though? He had a reason for that. He's like the time that it would take him, it was to get back to Earth.
He would 4 years for him. But it would have been...
But it was something about, because the atmosphere on Rocky's planet, the gravity was so much more that he already had arthritis, and so by the time he got back to Earth, he would have been like an old man. And
on Earth, it was
something like that.
71 years since he'd been born on Earth. For him, he was only 53 or something.
Yeah,
but the gravity on Rocky's planet was so high that it was putting a lot of pressure on his bones and making them deteriorate quicker than normal. So he was only 53, but he was walking with a cane and had really bad arthritis.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I could go back to Earth, and they've said that I could go back, but I didn't know what state that it was in, because at that point he didn't know if the Beatles made it back and he saved the planet.
Yeah.
And he also didn't want to make the 4-year trip alone.
Right.
Because he's like, no, that's really lonely. Like, and I have friends on Arid now. They think I'm a hero, which he is, but...
Yeah. But I think, too, because they're at the end, they were doing scans of our sun and found out that it returned to normal. So then, of course, Ryland knew that the Beatles had made it and Earth was fine and all of that. And then he still decided to stay.
Yeah. Well, he had all of his friends.
Yeah, his friends. He was still a teacher.
And now he's a teacher.
I did, the whole gravity thing, though, it was like they built him this dome because also their atmosphere was nothing but like toxic gases.
It's pretty much ammonia.
Yeah. And so, he couldn't live. But so they built him this dome. But why couldn't they have
changed the pressure inside of it so he wasn't experiencing 1.5 G's all the time?
I think they could have messed with the gravity a little bit too, so that he wouldn't.
I mean, they
I don't know. Anyway, yeah, okay.
To put him in a big centrifuge.
Whatever. It doesn't matter, but yeah, I did. I liked the end because it made sense that he would want to stay there.
Yeah. What about his me burgers or whatever that he would eat?
Oh,
because he can't. So on Arid, their food is filled with like thallium and a whole bunch of metals that are toxic to humans. So he couldn't eat any of their food. He didn't have any food left on his ship. So it's like, well, we're gonna have to make some new
one way or another. He's gonna starve.
And he started eating meat. His own meat. They called it meat burgers or something.
Well, what was it? They were like, they were taking, didn't they like reproduce as they grow?
Yeah, they did something.
They grew it from his cells or something.
Yeah, he's like, but I taste pretty good. He said something like that. I don't even remember. So, I eat one. I love me burgers. I eat one every day.
I can't remember what.
They managed to clone his muscle tissue and grow it in labs.
There it was.
Yeah. So he's eating his own meat, his own muscle
He's
tissue.
eating his own muscles, but yeah.
Yum. Sounds delicious. I'm sure Hannibal Lecter would enjoy that.
All in the name of survival. At least it was his own muscle tissue, not somebody else's.
That's true. That's true.
I thought that the aliens, I thought that was creative. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just a whole, like, different sort of humanoid with big ears or something. You know,
he did
it was completely alien, and that was beyond the whole that he turned into a linguist and could all of a sudden understand everything. Beyond that, I did enjoy that, you know, it didn't make it easy in that way.
Right.
Although it wasn't hard either, because basically Rocky was like this super engineer who could make anything. And so, yeah, they just adapted. Rocky adapted everything. Yeah. But yeah, like even not just the form, but because they were like big spiders, big rock spiders.
Yeah.
But
spiders with a turtle shell, pretty
like
much.
the culture though too, like how he had to watch him sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of creepy. It was kind of sweet too when they explained why. You know, that was kind of neat. Yeah. So like cultural aspects like that was really cool too.
He did a really good job like building those characters.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's species.
Yeah. So anyway, I liked it. He did a good job still. It was just, I just don't think he handled his main character very well. I think he was much more interested in the science aspect of it than he was in building a good character.
A good hero.
A delivery system for his science. That's what he needed. It was a better delivery system for his science. And there was just way too much science. I mean,
if I did not have science, I could read a textbook.
Anyway. Yep. Which is why I landed it at 3, because I really enjoyed the story. Mm-hmm. But I didn't like all the science. And like you said, it was way too easy. Everything was way too easy.
Yeah. I think I'm going to stick with the 4. Because, I mean, while there was a lot of science in there, there was some of it that I didn't really mind so much.
Well,
I actually was sitting there, like, as I'm reading this, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I started Googling things. So I don't know if that's just because I am a scientist also that I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. Not with everything. Physics, count me out. But all the other, like, the biology aspects to it, I'm just like, oh, okay, this is kind of
cool. It ought to. Cool. It ought to. I would hope that you would be interested in biology. I would hope so.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean the physics, the relativity kind of thing interests me, but not enough to try and figure it out, because I think that's kind of like a toddler trying to jump into graduate level physics. I'm the toddler, by the way. And I'd have to start so far back into my high school physics to try and figure out, to make the application of relativity to space travel makes sense to me, that I just didn't care. I mean, he really could have said, hey, you know, when you space travel, relativity does this. And I would have been like, okay, sure. But no, they had to explain it, and I like glazed over. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. It's really interesting that when you reach the speed of light, that basically time slows down. I mean, sort of. Is that right? No?
It's all relative to...
It's all relative. No!
It all depends on the speed that you're... Well, I guess you're going the speed of light, and then I don't know.
I think because that was why not as much time passed for him as passed on Earth, was because the closer you get to the speed of light, not as much time passes for you. Right? I don't know. See, like, it's something like that.
It's like, I find it super interesting, and I wish that someone could sit there and explain it to me in a way where I'm just gonna be like, I get it.
Well, in a
but
way.
I can't, I cannot wrap my mind around how that is possible. Like at this moment, it's so difficult
I can
for me.
somewhat, because was it Einstein at one point had the theory of time travel? That's how time travel could be possible. That basically, if you could travel fast enough, you would end up going backwards.
Yeah.
Right.
There's actually, there was a video that I watched from like when I was in college in my physics class. I think they had like a whole big video on how time travel is a thing.
Mm-hmm. How it could scientifically be possible. But I'm pretty sure that was, because it was Einstein that had the E equals mc squared. See, I remember that. But that was from high school physics, not junior high science. Anyway. Sure.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I just don't have the time or patience to go back far enough to start where I need to start in order to build up to understand that. Because you can't.
No reason. There's no application for it in the real world if you're not a scientist.
It's just interesting. It's just interesting for my own interest, but it's like I want to know about that. I don't want to know about all the stuff I have to learn in order to get there. Like I said, it's like a toddler jumping into quantum physics. It just ain't gonna work because I'm a toddler and I can't understand. So anyway, it was interesting enough that really, and I'm sure that science type people would have been like eating that up, like really. But for someone like me, it was like, really, dude, all you had to say was, this is the way it works. And I would have been cool with that. And we could have gone on. It would have been fine. No, that's just me. But anyway, hey, as long as you can skim it. And that was the other thing. Like, his science didn't really pertain to the plot of the book. It was really there just for the sake of the science.
Yeah, like there wasn't anything that you had to read with it. Like if you skimmed it, you didn't feel like you missed it.
You didn't. You
were still right on track.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you could do that with The Martian too, but there were some things that he explained how something was going to work, and then later on down the road when something screwed up, it was like, oh, because I forgot this part of it. And then you were like, oh, well, that explanation actually was necessary.
Yeah.
None. Except maybe the very early science regarding the astrophage.
Yeah.
Because you really did need an understanding of what that was and how it worked to make a lot of the rest of the book make sense. So that one, yes, but a lot of the other stuff, no. Really didn't. Anyway. There it is.
I don't feel like it's a bad start to the year.
No. We've had worse.
We sure have.
No, I do. It was pretty even for, like I said, I was a solid 3 because it was an even mix of what I didn't like versus what I did. And I just did not like him as much as a character. He just was not. Wasn't a good vehicle.
He was not the hero I wanted.
No. And it wasn't like he overcame his flaws. You know what I mean? It's fine to have a flawed character and then they have to overcome their flaws in order to succeed. And it was like he didn't. And he was just there for the most part until like the very, very end. So I don't know. Anyway, that was probably, pretty even for me. It's not a bad book.
No. The Martian's better.
The Martian is much better. Much better.
Yeah.
So.
That's all I got.
Hey, and I made it sitting the whole time. Proud of myself.
I'm proud of you too.
Woohoo! All right.
Wow.
Anything else to talk about?
Kind of like the book. There's
not much else.
But anyway, yeah. Our next book that we should be currently reading is my pick.
Oh yeah, because we are in February.
Yeah,
we're doing our live stream so early in February. It's like we should be reading this now. Really?
Yeah, we can start reading it now
because we are so early.
Look at us go!
Live stream.
Oh my gosh, we're doing great.
It's crazy. I didn't take my sticker off my book.
But the book that we're going to be reading, probably first weekend in March, tentatively for the live stream.
Tentatively.
Book Lovers.
Book Lovers
by Emily Henry. Yeah, I'm really excited for this. I like people we meet on vacation, so I really hope
I kind of am now. I'm not much of a romance reader. But for our romance trio,
Oh, we've had some positive so far.
I have finished reading Get a Life, Chloe Brown.
That was the one I was most excited for. It's a series.
I know. I'm not going to say anything except to say that I'm going to have to change my mind about reading romance these days because now this one was on my list because I thought it sounded interesting, but I'm just not much of a capital R romance. And capital R being that the point of the book is the relationship between the two characters, not as a side plot to something else. So like not as science fiction with a love interest. That's little r romance. Capital R romance that is the point of the book. And I've just never been a huge romance reader, not since I was probably 18, 19 years old. So I really hadn't read any contemporary romance. I can't even think of any that I've read. So I was, I can't find it. So, I won't say anything else. We'll have a whole video on that too, but now I'm really looking forward to this. So good. Yeah, good.
I'm excited.
Read it with us.
Yep.
Join us in about a month to discuss.
And yeah, I think that's all we got. If you have any opinions or things that you want to share with us about Project Hail Mary or about Book Lovers or about just like books in general, you can drop them down in the comments and we'll see them and then we can talk with you that way. You can also follow both of us on Instagram at Katie Reads and at the Everyday Adventurers. And yeah, I think that's it.
That's all I've got.
That's all I got.
And I really need to go because I got to stand up. So yeah.
Okay, Laura.
It's a good time to go.
Sounds good to me. So
okay.
I'm Amy.
And I'm Kelly.
And we're the Everyday Epic
Book Club.
Bye. Book Club. Bye.
Bye.